This is Randall and I, the Bible Guy, continuing on in our devotional study through the book of Ephesians. We're in Ephesians chapter 2, verses 8 and 9, which says, "For by grace you have been saved through faith, and that not of yourselves, it is the gift of God, and not of works, lest anyone should boast." Is there any part of salvation that is of ourselves? No. Even the faith that we have is a gift of God. Now Gideon was called by God to lead Israel into battle against the Midianites. And Gideon, when the angel came to Gideon, he didn't want to go. And he was like, "Well, why are you calling me? My father's house is low in Israel, and I'm the lowest in my father's house. Why would you call me?" And the angel insisted, and so Gideon said, "Well, okay, I'll put God to a test here. I'll test this and see if this is true." And so he said, "I'm going to put out this fleece blanket tonight out on the ground. And tomorrow when I get up, if there's wet dew all around the blanket, but the blanket itself is dry, I'll know that it is God." The next morning it was just as he said. But he still wasn't quite sure, and so he decided to test God one more time, and this time he threw out the fleece blanket, and he said that if the ground all around it is dry but the fleece blanket is wet, then I'll know it's God. Again, the next morning, just as he had said, and he got up and saw it, and he said, "Wow, God has chosen me." God had given Gideon the faith to be able to step out and trust him. Now, he goes into town or what have you, and he blows this trumpet to call Israel to battle. 32,000 men came to help Gideon. The problem is they were going against 135,000 Midianites. So these 32,000 men come to Gideon, and God says, "Gideon, that's too many troops. I want you to tell anyone who's scared, anyone who's just gotten married, anyone who just doesn't want to fight, to go home." 22,000 men went home. So with these 10,000 men, Gideon still had, but God said, "Gideon, these men are too many troops. Take them down to the watering hole. Let them get a drink. And when they drink, if the ones that are lapping it up, they're on their hands and knees and they're lapping it up, putting their face in it and lapping it up like a dog, send these home. But with the people that gently scoop it up in their hands and they sip out nicely, with these men, I will save Israel." That day, again, 9,700 troops went home. With 300 troops, God was going to use these 300 troops to save Israel. Why? Why would God do it like this? God didn't want there to be anything that these troops could say and boast in and say, "I saved Israel." They didn't want the people around to say, "Wow, those 300 troops saved Israel." Everyone was going to say, "God saved Israel." As Christians, there's nothing that we can boast in. Salvation is entirely of God. Know that. Know that today. It's not yourself. It's all about God. Hold fast to that and don't boast in anything. This is Randall and I, the Bible Guy, signing off.